Hi everybody and welcome back. I'm just giving a brief update before we start on the rebuilding of the drive side of the engine. Basically what I've done is I've left this standing for the last couple of days on its side with oil just to the level of that. I can get some light to show a bit better. Hopefully you can see that there's oil filled there. It's not one drop's gone through. And what I did as well, I put some on the gearbox, and underneath no oil. Use the camera work, no oil. So I'm quite happy that the Viton seals are working a treat. Right, so I'm just going to cut away and then we'll get started on putting the chain on, the clutch in, drive sprocket, and I'm just going to test whether the engine side casing is not going to rub on any of these parts here. So give me 5 minutes. Thanks, bye. Right, once more back into the fray. Now I've showed you this a few times with the clutches. If you just cut out the oil ways, it lets more oil in, and I think it's a much improved clutch. That's my own opinion, not that it counts for a lot. So what we're going to do is start on, we can put on the basic, all the drive components, the chain, clutch. I've got new bearings, if you can see, but they're brand new, and there's two bearings that go inside this and the clutch spider, which is there. Can't see it for looking. This is all In-A-Centi stuff, so what I'm going to do is just put some gearbox oil on these bearings that go in. So I'm just going to literally soak them in oil. I'll soak them in oil and put them inside like so. There's two on this type of crown wheel, whatever you want to call it. You can't put the brass bush on it because it will just basically melt it. It will destroy it. So put that on there like so, slide that down. We're not putting the anything else on at the moment. I just want to put the clutch in loosely on there. I've got the springs here, and what I need to do is just put the chain top and bottom on. And before I do that, what I'm going to do is just put the oil thrower washer on here. Remember, I basically packed this with oil just to make sure that it wasn't leaking, so that's fine. So what I've got to do now is put our bottom plate in. So I've undo the two bolts that I've got here, and I've got a new lock-in washer. Like I say, for a couple of quid it's not worth messing around with the old ones. So put the bottom one in first, line it up, and the top one goes on the top, obviously. We just need our lock-in washer with our bolts in it, and just loosely screw this up. Don't tighten anything at the moment. It's a bit dark. I'll see if I can get some light and it stay on. I'm hoping that that will stay on, give some more light to what I'm doing. I'm just trying to find where I can actually mount it. I think the batteries are wearing out on this. They are, aren't they? So it might throw a little bit of more light on. I'll see what it looks like. A little bit better, I suppose, if it stays on long enough. So just get the first top bolt in place, and again, these are all dead easy jobs when there's no camera around, just sod flooring it. So do that, and just, like I say, just loosely do them up about halfway. When I get it actually lined up, that's it. Again, I can't stand gloves, but I keep going on about it. We get our chain next. I'm just going to move the clutch out the way and stick it over there. So if we get our chain on, just slide this out again. Put the chain on and slide it back like so. Sod's law, remembering to put it into the chain guide or you're wasting your time. So push that back down again. Then what we need on here is our sprocket. Sometimes it's just easier to literally put it down as one effort. So like lift this up, put it back up again, take the chain up, put the sprocket in like so, and just put it down as one effort. It should reach. Sometimes it's a bit fiddly, but like that, see what I mean? It's just gone straight in, no hassle. That's in. So we've got our locking tab washer to go on there. There is a little raised post where it goes onto. And we've got our nut on there. We just use a clutch holding tool and tighten this up. Nice and free. We can then adjust our chain up and down as we need. I'm just going to put that fully. That's tight. I don't know whether to try another chain. It does look a little bit stretched, that chain. Or is it? No, that'll work. About an inch deflection. What I do like is the pull down chains, because what it does is it pinches on the drive sprocket and you get more of a pull on the chain. I think that'll probably be, yeah, I think that'll probably be all right. So I'm just going to tighten up the chain at the moment, trying not to knock everything down. I'm loosely tightening it up where it is at the moment. Yeah, that's about right. Take a bit more out, that's it. I'm just going to nip this up. Not tight, just nip it up. Like that. I'd say that's about perfect. And we've got our push drive part of it to go on. Our spring. And the top tip here is make sure these are all square and not bashed in, because what you need that to do is when you're crushing it down is just to slide on the spline when I get it lined up like so. It should just push, see what I mean? It should be nice and not spin, not click, if you can see that over there. So it should go down on the spline straight like so. Then you can compress your spring, which is a bit greasy to be honest. So spring, what you try and do is line up these splines like so, and then use your, not that bolt, the bolt that came out of it, which is there, which I've got to give a wipe to. Just put the clutch back for a sec. And again, this is all original, so it should be pretty good. And just do up that bolt. when you get it lined up, of course, not like what I'm doing here. There you go, it's in the crank. Getting bits of fluff. And what I suggest you do is when you get the holder in place, put the clutch holder there to stop this spinning. I'll just find it and cut back in when I've found it. I was giving the clutch holding tool a bit of a wipe. This is my preferred tool anyway. The other tool is an Indian one and it comes in 2 parts. I don't like it at all. So make sure that the tool's on the spider, down on it as such, and just lock it off. Like I say, I've set it just under 50 pounds. Screwdriver under that side. I just want it level, I don't want it pulling in at an angle. They do come with 2 bars on them. So I'm just putting that up. As such, I'll get the screwdriver under it just to hold it so it's level. Right, that's getting tight now. Right, that one's done up. This one here, 25 to 27. What we need that is just tight enough. I'll just get the clutch out the way for a minute. And what we're trying to do is just make sure that it goes on the splines. So this cushions down. If it doesn't and it catches, you can damage this. If I get a 13 out in the smaller socket set, that way I won't be putting tons and tons of pressure on it. No, well, I picked up a 12. Not 13, it's 14 in it. Not tight enough yet. What you can do as well, if you get a hammer, and just tap the edges. See, that's solid, that's not lined up. That's fine, that's lined up. So if we now change that socket set to a 14 and change it to, I'll do it to about 26 pounds per square inch. 30, 25, 14 mil socket out, 13, 14. And we just need to do the drive sprocket. Till it clicks. What you can do as well is just tap it again, make sure, I don't know if you can hear that, that's pressing on the spring basically, and it bounces up. You do get a feel for them. I'm quite happy with that one. We'll carry on doing that. All the way. Hopefully it's not too dark. Put it back up again. Get some new batteries in it. Here we are, we're starting to tighten. There you go, and that's our push driving. I'm still not locking off the clutch as such at the moment because I need to put the clutch together, so I'm just going to take the holding tool out. So what we can do now is we can bend over our 1 or 2 on the tabs. You can either bend 1 or 2, one will suffice. So get the teeth in again. So just, you can actually get set along those pliers and start it off. Just bend it up like that and get a better pair of pliers. 5 holes best, which are here somewhere or on the floor. Where are they? Yeah, they're falling down. Just use your 5 hole and just lock it off, so then that can't spin off. Right, with the actual bell housing itself, it's got a guiding rod, so that needs a clean up as well. I thought I'd clean that, but obviously I haven't. I'll use some brake cleaner on that, and I'm going to use a clean rag. Give it a clean wipe. We need to get our grease out again now for our springs. They're going to need a wipe as well. So I'm just cleaning it off, making sure that it's nice and clean and there's no dirt there. And if I move that and get our springs, strictly speaking, this time we don't need to grease them because it's sitting in the plane where the springs shouldn't move. So I'm just going to give the springs a wipe, put them in one at a time without fluff on them, stand them upright. Bloody fluff's on my fingers, isn't it, on my gloves, rags I suppose. Right, that one's clean. That one's clean. That one's clean. Normally sitting on the side I would grease them up because they just fall out of place, but when you're in this orientation they just sit in. Now that spring and that last one are not sitting correctly. Turn them around. That one's fine now. There's little cutouts that they sit in basically, like that, and they should sit still. And all we've got to do is line up where the springs are without getting fluff in the way. And I'm quite happy that that should be there. Still got some fluff in there. Push it down on the springs, and then we need to get our compressor. So what I'm going to do is just take off a couple of nuts and their washers. don't drop the nut in, because you'll have to strip it all the way down again. Because if you drop the nut in there and you don't get it out and it gets in between the gear cogs, you'll be over the handlebars. It could kill you. Right, so let's get the compressor, which I've got here somewhere there. And what we need to do is just put our plates through, like such. What you could do before you even put that on is just loosely put them in place. 1, 2, 3. As you can see, they're well oiled up with gearbox oil. 5, 6, 7 and 8. And just put our compressor tool on, tighten that down. And what I do is I just get a washer basically, because my tool, I don't know why, it just seems very, it's not to touch, but I suppose under the pressure it just seems to rub on here, the raised part. So that's tight. That one's tight. Just give my hands a wipe. I'm getting greased up again. Right. I know what I probably should have done first, which is what I'm going to do in a minute, is just to check how straight the chain is, because if you remember, we had 2 washers underneath this bell housing, and we had 2 washers under the Christmas tree. I don't know why somebody would build an engine like that, but they did. And you know, it's just one of them things, isn't it? They're the washers that were under there, so I can just stick a washer on there and tighten this compressor tool down, and just take your time basically. There you go. So it's going to push on the washer, not on the actual bell housing, and it's dropping in nicely. So just take the plates out and put them in one by one as you're making space, so they sit in nice. I've got too much grease everywhere, and well, not grease but gearbox oil. And you only need to compress enough to get the locking washer in place basically. So I've got a fair way to go there yet, but all my plates are nearly in line. The usual on the top plate needs a bit of a tap at home. These spiders, they can spread. I would say I'm not far off, probably 1 or 2 turns. 1, 2. And I'll be able to get that locking washer in, circlip, whatever you want to call it, which is on here. And again, we'll need a wipe. The clutch locking. And it sounds like I've knocked something on the floor, but I don't think I need whatever I've knocked down. So a locking circlip, as a million videos will tell you, you need. So push it where it's open over the hole, and basically what you're after is where the gap is, put that in between the post, so it's centered in the post, so that one of these is actually compressing it. So let me get the little screwdriver out. I keep putting dust and bits and bobs in, it's driving me up the wall, but right, clip that up. So the gap where the ring is where my finger is, where the screwdriver is, sorry. Yeah, and that's all the way in around. So just take the tension out the springs. Like so. And that's our clutch in. What you can do is just make sure all the springs are in. We had them straight anyway, so I'm quite happy that they're not out of place, and they look perfect looking at them. So make sure that clears. Undo this. And what I'm just going to do then is I'm going to get a straight edge and just go over, make sure that the chain's basically the same depth from front to back. What I really should have done was not put on the chain guide, because we basically don't want, so if I get a straight edge I'll show you what I mean. It should be down here somewhere. There it is. And again, I just need to give that a wipe. I'll start dropping oil and dirt in there. So what we're basically going to do is we're going to do that and measure the gap between the top of the chain and the bottom of my straight edge, and then we'll have to go across like that and do the same there and just there, and we're after the same gap basically from both sides. With that under pressure I can leave that in place, so get it off the washer. I'm just wondering whether to use feeler gauges for this. I could do, couldn't I, because they'll go under. Right, so we need a bit more than that. Looks like I'm going to need all of them. Yeah, that's just touching. That's sprung out of there. Yep. So in fact it looks like it's actually slightly up at the back. Let's have a look at the chain now. Yeah. Or is it? No, I think what I did was I put them in with the tool in. That's still not going under. Or is that? Try to. That's touching. That's touching. I think it probably is level. Yeah. If you can see that, it's not too dark, but basically that is touching. I'm quite happy with that being level. Phew, that saved a lot of aggro. So our straight edge can go away for another day. So we take out that. I know what I've knocked over, the little fumble. No, I haven't. It's there. We've got a little thimble that sits on top of the clutch housing. is the sacrificial part basically. So what I suggest you do is clean that up, put a dab of grease on. Dab of grease on it and stick our little pressure plate, thumble, thimble, whatever you want to call it. And what I'm going to do now is, now that's in place, I just want to see if the kickstart's not rubbing anywhere. So what I'm going to do is just take off the nuts, and basically I'll take these gloves off to do that. Take these nuts off and the washers and offer up the side casing basically. I seem to be missing a little pole that goes in there. So I need to find one of them out. They're just aligning dowels, so that the way I'd look on it, they fitted them for a reason. So who am I to argue with them? This is where it seems like it's fallacy or fallacy, poly, whatever you want to call it, a folly to put these on, but I haven't lost any, have I? Not yet anyway. I do need to check the exhaust as well, because on the later GPs etc they had a hole here. If I can turn you around again, they put a hole there so the exhaust is actually supported in 3 points, 1, 2 and back there 3. On the Allies they didn't have that, not to begin with anyway. Personally I think that should have been something that should have been done. Dealers should have done that as the bikes came back, because there seems to be the myth with TV200 that they shook to pieces. I've had about 10 or 12 of them, and to be honest with you, none of them shook to pieces, but there again they were pampered pets like all my scooters. So I'm just undoing these, trying my best not to drop anything inside, anywhere inside. Don't forget we haven't done the chain tensioner up properly yet, but I'm quite happy with that. That's about the right amount of play, but I don't think you're going to get much more out of that chain. Before it's either stuck into a tuned engine or binned. They do stretch, and that's probably looks like it's a proper original chain as well. I can't turn the engine on the side unfortunately because it is half full with oil, and what I'm going to have to do in a sec is just have a look, see if I've got that dowel somewhere. I've got about 4 engines there, hopefully there's one in there, one of them, so it'll just save me hunting one out. I've only got one more to do. I've already taken the nut off, just a washer. Right, give us a sec, I'm just going to pause the video while I go and have a look for that dowel that's missing from there. And just like that we magic one up. I'm just giving that a wipe because it's in an old dirty engine, so a tap home. And what I'm going to do now is just offer the side casing up that we built with the kickstart mechanism. That does seem fine. Yeah, that's engaging. Don't know if the no, it's not. Crank's not touching. That does seem. Don't know if you can hear that. It's turning over the engine. I'm quite happy with that actually. Right, so let's get this side casing off. I just want to see if anything's been rubbing. Bear in mind we'll have a gasket under here as well, which will lift it up a bit more. Again, this should fall off. There we go. I can't see any rubbing on there, which is good. I'll just put the side casing out of the way for a sec. And what I can do is do them up now, because I think we're happy with that. Could probably do with taking the spark plug out, to be honest. That way when you're turning it over, you're not turning it over under compression. I can't remember if I tightened it or not. Yes, he tightened it. Socket set. At least that way I'm not kicking it over with compression when we are turning it over. Yeah, see what I mean? I can turn it by hand, so now it's all greasy. I'm going to take one of my good gaskets, which should go on that way, after I tighten this up. Put the right one on, 10mm. There it is. And again, tight, and about 1/8. That's really tight. That'll do. And again, then just preen it up again. I might be able to just do this with the 5-hole. As such. No. No. It's not playing ball. I'm just using the screwdriver on it to start it off. Make sure that's nice and tight. It can't come undone. And then we can do the bottom one. Do that one as well. Do them as tight as you can to the bolts, because that's basically what you're relying on, not to let go. So what I'm going to do now is just give this edge a wipe and put some sealant on, both sides of the gasket. What you can do is just put it on the gasket itself after you've wiped